So hello, welcome everyone. My name is Antoine Jolme. I'm a consultant in management and business ethics from Paris, France. I'm also coordinating the work of Initiatives of Change Business and Economy program. So welcome to you for this specific session on rebuilding Gaza. It's a bit a different one from other ICB sessions, and there are a lot of people who connect for the first time. So let me give you a word of explanation before turning to our speaker, Dr. Abdelmohsen Farahat. Initiatives of Change Business and Economy program believes that we who are active in business can have a role in changing things for good. We also believe in listening and dialogue to help solve human relation issues. This is why in each of our webinars there is an open sharing of ideas and experiences between participants, in small groups as well as through public debate with the keynote speakers. Each discussion is of course confidential and will not be reproduced on internet, but we will have a full recording of the presentation by Dr. Farahat. In our previous sessions of dialogues over the last 3 years or so, we explored the meaning of sustainability, that is, all facets of the implications of sustainability for our businesses as well as for our lives. So working from the conviction that business in particular has a key responsibility for promoting and demonstrating sustainability, we think we can now turn to Gaza and wonder what we can do, what a single business or a single individual can do. Today, the session is about rebuilding what has been so savagely destroyed in Gaza, but precisely to do it in a human and sustainable way. I hope it will inspire many, as our previous meetings have inspired many people. So Professor Abdelmohsen Farahat, who was a professor of landscape architecture, environmental design and planning in KAU University of Saudi Arabia, and not just a professor, but also a practitioner with several international projects and award-winning projects. We are thrilled to be able to listen to you today. Thank you, Professor Farahat, for joining us today, and yours is the floor.
Thank you very much, Antoine. Actually, thank you for everything, a lot of efforts to make this lecture possible. I also want to thank Munir Bilatifa for making the connection between us. I would like also to thank Dr. Yahya Al-Sarraj, head of the municipality of Gaza, Dr. Abdel Karim Juda, UNRWA consultant, Ayman Abdelhadi, municipality of Gaza, and Muhammad Al-Rantisi. All of them provided me with valuable references and valuable insights. I think we can go now to the shared screen. You need to enable the shared screen.
That's right. Let me do that. Now it's okay.
Okay. Yeah. So now we have the full screen. This is the structure of the whole presentation. I think we can start immediately by saying that if we rebuild Gaza as it was before the war, then we would lose a lot of opportunities. Some people estimate the construction industry that it is connected to something like near 100 industry or a profession. If all of these industries and professions happen outside the local communities of Gaza, this would mean a lot of opportunities lost, let alone the future possible potentials of new communities. Applying all the principles of the state of the art in planning, in sustainability, in environmental design. Now, the recommended reconstruction principles and applications, I will start with the theoretical principles and then go into the proposed applications. these three principles are well connected together, are integrated actually. Sustainability, self-reliance, and decentralization. Sustainability in itself has three sides: environmental sustainability, socioeconomic sustainability, I'm sorry, economic sustainability, and socio-cultural sustainability. So three sides of sustainability that must go together. Self-sufficiency is impossible in any country in the world, including USA. But self-reliance is possible in any country in the world, meaning to depend on yourself on the basic needs of shelter, food, water, and energy. Then decentralization, there is a myth about large scale economies, that the economies of scale means that the larger the scale of industry or any activity, the more efficient it is. Yes, sometimes it can happen, but it has already been proven in many ways that smaller scale activities, decentralized activities, can be even more efficient than larger ones. This can happen and was proven in a very important reference by Shoemaker in the 70s called Small is Beautiful. Now, we go to planning guidelines. The process of planning, design, and construction, on the left side, the green arrow goes from 1 to 6. These steps are all related to physical planning and design. The blue arrow to the right relates to non-physical administrative actions. And in between, there must be feedback, adjustment, and repair. Now, going to the left side again, it would be tragic to go directly to step 6, construction, without the previous ones. Many countries in the world, especially in the Arab world, start with step 2, urban planning. But they overlook the most important step, which is step 1, environmental or landscape planning. Then it can be followed by urban planning, then site planning, urban design, then site design and architectural design, and 5, interior design, then construction, number 6. On the right-hand side, policy planning is very important to determine policies, and from policies you establish programs, and from programs you establish projects. There is economic and financial planning related to implementation. And number 3, socio-cultural economic planning that should link the social issues, cultural issues, and economic issues together. The amount of ruins, of rubble, of debris, of destroyed buildings is enormous in Gaza, as you all know. This is a map of the debris in Gaza. To the left side is a diagram stating that in the period between February and April of this year, the debris could amount to 10 great pyramids of Giza. Right now it may be 15. It could pile up to 8 meters high, filling all of Central Park, New York. So the amount of rubble is enormous. The basic strategy for extension of Gaza, before that, we must know some of the basic facts that in 1947, the partition decision by the United Nations gave Israel 47% of historic Palestine. The 1967 borders would make 78% to Israel and only 22% to the Palestinians. On these remaining 22% of historic Palestine, settlements are encroaching. So Israel is already expanding on these 22%. If we want real peace to happen, this must be adjusted in a fair way. And one of the ways is to have land exchange. So land exchange can occur in the case of Gaza by expanding northward and by having a passage, a land passage linking Gaza to the West Bank. In that case, I would recommend highly to be accompanied by a wadi carrying water to Gaza. Then there must be a three-dimensional solution linking north to the south of Israel and, of course, east to west of Palestine. The other very important, perhaps most important direction for the expansion of Gaza is westwards by landfill into the sea using the building ruins we talked about. The picture on the bottom right may look like a nice green area in Europe, but actually this is Wadi Gaza. Gaza Wadi in Gaza, a part of it that was cleared and cleaned before the war, of course. The picture to the left bottom indicates the extreme need for drainage, proper surface drainage, natural drainage. And of course, the top photo indicates the tragic problem of water supply. This map indicates the destruction that happened in the agricultural lands, which leads me to this first step in planning, in environmental planning, which is the basic green open space system. Basically, agricultural land should occur more on the north, where rain is more frequent. It should occur on the east, the eastern borders, accompanied by anaerobic digesters with sanitary treatment of sewage into irrigation water, irrigating the agricultural land in a proper way in various degrees of purification. We will talk about this later. Of course, it would generate also methane gas as a source of energy. Now, the starting point in this basic green open space system is the three wadis of Gaza. Wadi Gaza in the middle, and Hanun stream in the north, and Al-Salqa stream in the also south middle. On the north coast, another green strip can occur with greenhouses. Now, these greenhouses on the waterfront wouldn't be just for food production, but would also act as solar stills that convert saline water into irrigation and potable water. Then there are green strips distributed all the way from east to west or from west to east. So any urban unit, this dotted rectangle would have this green spine in the middle, agricultural land on the east, a green corniche on the west, with solar greenhouses that I talked about. Public transportation is very important, and the shape of Gaza is very suitable for public transportation. We have called Al Rashid Coastal Road on the west. Then we have Salah ad-Din road in the middle, and I suggest a new one to the east related mostly to railroads and carrying goods that can extend to Egypt. The passenger road in the middle can also extend to Egypt. In my opinion, should extend both of them to Egypt, linking the economy, strengthening the economy of both countries. This is in addition to the linkage to the east to Hebron in the West Bank with public transportation and vehicles. The photo to the right is the products of a greenhouse in Gaza before the war. The photo to the left is the urban pattern, how Gaza looked like before the war. Very obviously, there was a lot of need of proper planning even before the war. Now, the basic urban unit we mentioned in previous diagrams would consist of agricultural land on the east and urban corniche on the west related to pedestrian, and greenhouses acting as solar stills on the west on the waterfront. All the area west of Al Rashid Coastal Road would be landfill, something between 1 to 2 kilometers. This is to a reasonable depth into the water. This would make a lot of valuable property in pure economic terms. And in my opinion, can add a value to the economic aid needed for the reconstruction of all of Gaza. Here, private sector can participate a lot, but it shouldn't be left completely to the private sector. It should be controlled. This is number one, height of buildings, land uses, etc. But also the financial gains. The price of land paid in this property should belong to the whole society, not only the new owners of this new property. Especially the orphans who lost their fathers and mothers. They should become stockholders of these new properties. Because this is the most attractive area for investment to the private sector. Maybe from the beginning, each urban unit would make a company, stockholder company, and the money gained from the waterfront properties, maybe let us say 30% of it would go to industry and agriculture on the east, and also the educational facilities to strengthen the societal socio-economic structure. So going from the east again, agriculture, then greenhouses, then non-polluting industries. The polluting industries a company would be attached to the anaerobic digester on the eastern edge. Beside the non-polluting industries would be training centers, research centers, universities, and some secondary schools, all attached to the non-polluting industries, working together to develop and advance. Then we have the basic structure, the urban structure of almost any city, main roads and cul-de-sacs, and encouraging pedestrian movement as much as possible. And the distances would be very reasonable for walking. The weather also encourages walking and bicycles. there is a green spine in the middle of the urban unit. All of that, everything green here is productive. The gardens, the beautiful gardens of Andalusia were all productive gardens, producing vegetables, fruits, medicine, and perfumes. The fountain could be the source of the irrigation system, with a canal system related to the paving pattern of the garden. So everything in that garden was beautiful and productive at the same time. So it's an old tradition of integrating the aesthetic with the functional and the productive. This is a more detailed illustration of the eastern part and the western part without the huge middle part in between. So in terms of the agricultural, there are 3 zones going in hierarchy of the need for purification of water. So sewage treatment would be minimum in the first zone to the east. It can be just wooden forests. Middle zone can be related to vegetables that needs boiling, and the western strip would be suitable for vegetables and fruits eaten fresh. So in that last case, water quality should be the highest, followed by greenhouses, then non-polluting industries, then universities, research centers, and training centers. Then we come to the waterfront property, and the most important principle here is that we avoid one row of buildings on the waterfront, which would have happened with Al Rashid Coastal Road and buildings facing the waterfront. We could end up with just one row of buildings. In the proposal here, the length and area of buildings could be 10 times as much. So this means a lot of added value. In addition to the greenhouses I talked about in the middle and on the upper and upper and bottom roads, acting as solar stills, converting saline water into irrigation and potable water. This is in addition to aquaculture related also to the greenhouse. They can support one another. This is what can be called urban corniche. But in addition to the urban corniche, we must have also suburban corniche, in which there is sand beach and the possibility of swimming. So according to site-specific factors, one would determine whether to go for the urban corniche or the suburban corniche. Design guidelines, when we shift from urban planning to architectural design, in my opinion, we should not go directly to the single building, but we should go to what is called a grouping unit of several buildings. And the logic here is that the integration of several buildings into a grouping unit with a common open space would add a lot of good quality of life. This is number one. And number two, a lot of economic efficiency. I would say also socio-cultural efficiency. So the main idea here is to put the regular common activities vertically above each other. Commercial activities at the bottom, including parking. After that, you have administrative activities on the outside and educational activities on the inside, facing the common space between the two buildings. and then followed by residential uses in the upper 4 floors. The total is 6 floors, but when you go into your residence, for example, you don't shift directly, you shift indirectly, so the maximum going up would be around 4 floors. Now, please notice that combining the open space of the educational facility with the residential facility means to save space, means to have more efficient use of space. And there is a logic in that. In preparatory schools, usually the ages are between 6 to 11. In my opinion, this is wrong. It means that there is one child double the age, almost double the age of another child, using the same yard, using the same toilet. Children can hurt one another. So in my opinion, it should be divided into 2 halves. One half from 6 to 7 to 8 years old. This can be in what I'm proposing here in the grouping unit, just underneath the residential uses, with the condition of having a proper open space between the 2 buildings. By the way, if this could happen, it means that a housewife can work in teaching, let us say, for 2 hours a day. Something wouldn't be possible if she goes to a regular school with transportation and come back, etc., etc. So a lot of inbuilt efficiencies could happen in this pattern. And of course, the economic efficiency of the commercial activities, of the educational activities, of the administrative activities would save a lot in terms of the cost of the residential unit. The residential unit becomes much cheaper, whether in ownership or in rent, according to the societal organization of related to this grouping unit. More detailed section, the gateway to the grouping unit with wind-driven electric generators. This is medium to small scale, not the giant ones. And their placement in the space in between the buildings would benefit from the funnel effect of air currents, meaning that wind speed would be accelerated between the buildings, benefiting the efficiency of the wind generators. Solar energy was already applied in Gaza, but it should be applied at a far wider scale. This is a 3-dimensional presentation of the grouping unit. Photovoltaic solar collectors at the top. Food production takes place in all terraces of the residential units and also in the public spaces, also in the streets. And there is an amphitheater, open air amphitheater in the middle, used as open air classrooms or just for public performances day and night as a social space. I'm sorry, I did something wrong. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Okay. These are more details of the grouping unit. On the top right hand, it is wrong to place buildings perpendicular to the wind direction, because this would mean very good ventilation on the front row and very bad ventilation on all roads of buildings following that. It is better to put buildings parallel to the wind direction in the middle right-hand sketch. So especially if you have horizontal wind catchers, this would guarantee proper ventilation of every room in the residential unit and the same ventilation of all rows of buildings following the front row. The wind catcher can be also solar catcher when needed. On the left-hand side, there is a lot of possibilities for flexibility in terms of interior flexibility, in terms of food production, in terms of flexibility of furniture, daytime and nighttime. So a lot of potentials and possibilities are there. To summarize it, one could have an apartment, let us say 70 square meters, that appears and functions as an apartment of, let us say, 100 or 110 square meters. Why so? Because of proper and more efficient architectural design and interior design. More details of the plans, different plans, and the site plan of the grouping unit. Now, in terms of construction, already proven through research and references in a research related to rebuilding small settlements in Afghanistan after one of the wars. And it was proven that prefabricated systems are not only more expensive than traditional systems, but can be even slower. And this is the surprise. Traditional systems can be faster in building residential, especially residential buildings. If you calculate all the production process from the beginning to the end. Now, I'm not saying that you would build vaults and domes in one-story buildings in Gaza. The situation is different. But what I'm saying is that, as an example, stabilized earth blocks that are hand-pressed can be very efficient, more efficient than prefabricated systems. There are special cases, for example, a certain part of a hospital, highly technical part, then here more industrialized system can occur. Cultural and artistic guidelines must never be forgotten. Historic areas are very important. I didn't have enough information about site-specific places of them, but I should mention that in terms of historic conservation, a shift already happened from caring only about historic buildings to caring about historic sites, to caring about historic districts that include both historic buildings and contemporary buildings, but in a way that makes the whole urban tissue integrated and living, a living tissue, not just museums, not dead museums, but living cultural places. And it would strengthen the identity and the feeling of belonging to this place. In addition to that, rubbles can also be used in artistic terms in public art, whether memorials, whether murals on large walls, definitely in construction activities. But in this particular case, this was a memorial for the Egyptian martyrs for Palestine. In it, I tried not to illustrate war, weapons, etc., but to concentrate on the idea of love. A heart shape, the pyramid is deformed into a heart shape in plan pointing towards Jerusalem, and in elevation pointing towards the sky, with the skeleton of the Dome of the Rock in the middle. The bird's eye view, the green part has underneath it a small museum. a night view, and a site plan. That's all. I thank you all very much. I must say at the end that looking at the future looking at the future can help resolve the problems of today. When there is a lot of hope in the future and the quality of life that can occur in it, I think it can help establishing the peace between real peace, sustainable peace between Palestine and Israel. The second point I want to make clear is that I am not trying to illustrate a rigid picture of the future in any of the drawings I illustrated. They should be taken as generic models illustrating the principles and the basics, or some of the basics, some of the principles, perhaps the most important ones. And then they can be adjusted, deformed according to site-specific circumstances. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Farahat. We will not be able to record questions, unfortunately, after this presentation. So we are now going to stop the recording. But thank you already for this most fascinating and complete and well thought through perspective on how to rebuild Gaza in a better way, so that people.
Thank you very much, Antoine. And you did a lot of efforts, and I thank you very much for that.